So let's kind of switch gears here and talk about the students that you're working with. Okay, so what's going on with the students these days? Do you see different struggles, areas, of concern that that's growing, or what's going on with students these days?
Yeah, in some ways, students are there's aspects where it's always the same. If 20 years can go by, 30 years, and students have a lot of the same struggles as perhaps we had when we were students. At the same time, one of the biggest differences I've seen in the last 2-3 years is a growing interest in politics. And my first, and that's probably trickles down from their parents, and it's right now we're living an issue that I think everyone is just kind of in it, whether they want to be or not. And so I've never, in my first 8 to 10 years of ministry, I would expect the average student wouldn't know. A politician wouldn't know who their governor is, wouldn't know, they just wouldn't care. And in the last couple of years, there's been a growing interest of students in political issues and politicians. That's not obviously the only thing, but that's one of the key differences I've seen just in the last couple of years that I haven't seen in previous years.
What from seminary has been kind of the most beneficial that you've brought over to your teaching? And then what do you think there are some areas where there needs to be either better preparation for, or maybe at least a conversation on temping expectations down?
So the best thing from college or seminary that has impacted my ministry was that,
Right.
That's a great, that's a really good question. I think, and this is probably not and as far as an answer goes, this is not very specific, but something about just seminary has forced me to keep studying and to realize that even the first view that you come across isn't the only view. When I grew up going to church and kind of my Bible training from my parents from church, really up until college and even a little bit in college, the first view I heard was the view, and that was the only view. And then you start hearing multiple perspectives, and you realize the first time I heard that there was multiple views on hell, or that there's multiple views on sanctification, and then you start to think it just changes your study when you're teaching, that you're not just teaching. You want to teach the correct view, or at least your understanding of what you believe to be the correct view is while you're teaching. But it's also helpful then to give students, to help them be aware there are other views out here. So when they hear that, they're not like, well, they don't assume that I've never heard of it, or that because. So I would prefer to introduce students to some of the other views while I'm teaching what I believe to be the correct view, rather than just wait till they figure it out on their own. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. In fact, I think either the time before or the time before that I last taught the college class, I asked the college group if they knew who Bart Ehrman was. None of them knew who Bart Ehrman was. The 2 or 3 people that always talk to me about all the really juicy details, where I'm like, well, then I'll get back to you next week. And then, oh yeah, I knew what you were talking about the whole time. And so I think providing even the counterpoint to our faith positions is really good, because there's a verse in 1 John that shouldn't be there. Who knew about this? Why isn't it's in the bottom of our Bible? There's a note to it. Is there an explanation to it? Having that answer available, or teaching our kids that, hey, the simple 2-year-old answer of, Jesus is only going to get you so far. It's a good answer, but it won't only get you so far.
The Sunday school answer.
Yeah. Sunday school answer.
What you learn in Sunday school today? Yeah. Oh, I learned about Jesus. Yeah. All right.
And sometimes if you're dealing with kids, that's the best you can come up with. And I will recommend. There's a great series from Zondervan called the Counterpoint series, where they get a collection of authors that they write towards an answer, and they all come from a different perspective. And Tony and I have done 5 views of apologetics, or the 5 views of Christian philosophy. There's one on hell, women ministers, the longer ending of Mark. There's all these ones. IVP, I believe, has also a counterpoint, alternate views one, and we'll include some of those links in the description of the show. So that way people have that access.